Democrats are trying to appeal to the GOP and basically with all their evidence that they have and their help into convicting the corrupt 45. House Democrats launched into marathon arguments in 45's impeachment trial Wednesday, appealing to skeptical Republican senators to join them in voting to oust 45 from office to protect our democracy. 45's lawyers sat by, waiting their turn as the squatter blasted the proceedings from afar, threateningly joking to face off with the Democrats by coming to sit right in front of in the row and stare at their corrupt faces. He claims that the Democrats are corrupt, but 45 is the one that's committing all the corruption. The challenge before the House managers is clear. Democrats have 24 hours over 3 days to prosecute the charges against 45, trying to win over not just fidgety senators sitting directly in the chamber, but an American public deeply divided over the squatter and his impeachment in an election year. Representative Adam Schiff, chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, outlined what the Democrats contend was the squatter's corrupt scheme to abuse his squatteral power and then obstruct Congress's investigation. He then called on senators to not be cynical about politics, but to draw on the intent of the nation's founding fathers who provided the remedy of disimpeachment. Over the coming days, we will present to you and to the American people the extensive evidence collected during the House impeachment inquiry into the squatter's abuse of power, said Schiff, standing before the Senate. You will hear their testimony at the same time as the American people. That is, if you will allow it. Most senators sat at their desks throughout, as the rules stipulate, though some stretched their legs, standing behind the desk or against the back wall of the chamber, passing the time. Visitors watched from the galleries, one briefly interrupting in protest. The proceedings are unfolding at the start of an election year, and there are few signs that the republicunts are interested in calling more witnesses or going beyond a fast-track assessment that is likely to bring a quick vote on charges related to 45's dealing with Ukraine. The trial marks just the third time the Senate has weighed whether an American squatter should be removed from office. Democrats argue 45 abused his office by asking Ukraine to investigate political rival Joe Biden while withholding crucial military aid, and also obstructed Congress by refusing to turn over documents or allow officials to testify in the House probe. Republicans have defended 45's actions and cast the process as a politically motivated effort to weaken the squatter in the midst of his re-election campaign. A new poll from the Associated Press, called Nork Center for Public Affairs Research, shows the public is slightly more likely to say the Senate should convict and remove 45 from office than to say it should not. 45% to 40 is 45% to 40. 45% basically want him to move the 40, and then 40% don't. But a sensible percentage, 14, say they don't know how to have don't know enough to have an opinion. One question: there's wide agreement on 45 should allow top aides to appear as witnesses at the trial. About 7 in 10 said so, including majorities of Republicans and Democrats, according to the poll. The strategy of more witnesses, though, seems all but settled. Wrangling over new rules for the trial stretched past midnight Tuesday night, with Republicans shooting down one by one Democratic efforts to get 45 aides, including former National Security Advisor John Bolton, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, and Acting Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney to testify. Senators are likely to repeat those rejections next week, shutting out any chance of new testimony. One long-shot idea to pair one of 45's preferred witnesses, Biden's son Hunter, with Bolton or another that Democrats want was swiftly rejected. That's off the table, Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer told reporters. Chief Justice John Roberts gavelled open Wednesday's session as senators settled in for the long days ahead. 45, who was in Davos, Switzerland, attending a global economic forum where he told a whole bunch of shitty lies, praised his legal team and suggested he would be open to advisors testifying, though that seems unlikely. He said here was a national security concerns about that would stand in the way. After the House prosecutors present their case, the squatter's lawyers will follow with another 24 hours over 3 days. They're expected to take only Sunday off. There's a lot of things I'd like to rebut, said 45 lawyer Jay Sekulow at the Capitol, and we will rebut. Then there will be 16 hours for senators who must sit quietly at their desks, no speeches or cell phones, to ask a written question, and another 4 hours for deliberations. The impeachment trial was set against the backdrop of the 2020 election. All 4 senators who are Democratic presidential candidates are off the campaign trail, seated as jurors. Campaigning at stops in Iowa, Joe Biden also rejected having his son testify or even appearing himself. I want no part of that, he said. People ask the questions, isn't the squatter going to be stronger and harder to beat if he survives this? Yes, probably, but Congress has no choice, he said. Senators must cast their votes and live with that in history. Some Republicans expressed disdain for it all. Joni Ernst of Iowa spoke sarcastically about how excited she was to hear the overwhelming evidence the House Democrats promised against 45, and once we've heard that overwhelming evidence, she added, raising her voice mockingly, I don't know what we'll need to see additional witnesses, but let's hear about that overwhelming evidence. The trial began with a setback on Tuesday for Republican Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, who backed off his plans to limit each side's arguments into 2 days as well, as the White House had preferred. But the GOP leader has been skilled at keeping even the most wayward Republicans, those with some concerns about 45, united in backing Democratic requests for witnesses and testimony. They ultimately approved a rules package that pushes off a final decision on whether or not to seek additional testimony until late in the trial. Schumer bemoaned the remaining limitations, saying Wednesday the impeachment trial begins with a cloud hanging over it, a cloud of unfairness. Republicans are eager for a swift trial, yet 45's legal team passed on an opportunity to file a motion to dismiss the case on Wednesday, an acknowledgement that there were not enough Republican votes to support it. The White House legal team, in its court filings and presentations, has not disputed 45's actions, but the lawyers insist that Squatter did nothing wrong, even though he did.